This video is for Reading Check 11. That is pages 71 through 76 of the book. Mildred shrieked with laughter in the hall. Montag went to his bedroom closet and flipped through his file wallet to the heading, Future Investigations? Faber's name was there. He hadn't turned it in, and he hadn't erased it. He dialed the call on a secondary phone. The phone on the far end of the line called Faber's name a dozen times before the professor answered in a faint voice. Montag identified himself and was met with a lengthy silence. Yes, Mr. Montag. Professor Faber, I have a rather odd question to ask. How many copies of the Bible are left in this country? I don't know what you're talking about. I want to know if there are any copies left at all. This is some sort of trap. I can't talk to just anyone on the phone. How many copies of Shakespeare and Plato? None. You know as well as I do, none. Faber hung up. Montag put the phone down. None. A thing he knew, of course, from the firehouse listings, but somehow he had wanted to hear it from Faber himself. In the hall, Mildred's face was suffused with excitement. Well, the ladies are coming over. Montag showed her a book. This is the Old and New Testament, and don't start that again. It might be the last copy in this part of the world. So when he called Faber to ask if there were any more copies, it's because he happened to have stolen one. Keep in mind, he was probably grabbing books at random. He happened upon one that's pretty darn important, culturally speaking. You've got to hand it back in tonight, don't you? Captain Beatty knows you've got it, doesn't he? I don't think he knows which book I stole. But how do I choose a substitute? Do I turn in Mr. Jefferson? Mr. Thoreau? Which is least valuable? If I pick a substitute and Beatty does know which book I stole, he'll guess we've an entire library here. I want you to notice that when he talks about burning these books, he uses names. He doesn't name a title of a book. He talks about turning in Mr. Jefferson, a person. So this is sort of a sense of like figurative language, personification, with the purpose of indicating how important the subject matter of the books is to him. That the amount of loss, that it's like the loss of a life, because it's the loss of someone's voice, of someone's thoughts, which I agree with. Books document the thoughts and feelings of people, and to have a book and have it spread around and people to read it for centuries is sort of an immortality. And he doesn't want to send them to the gallows, so to speak. Mildred's mouth twitched. See what you're doing? You'll ruin us. Who's more important, me or that Bible? She was beginning to shriek now, sitting there like a wax doll, melting in its own heat. He could hear Beatty's voice. Sit down, Montag. Watch. Delicately, like the petals of a flower, like the first page, like the second page, each becomes a black butterfly. Beautiful, eh? Like the third page. From the second, and so on, chain smoking chapter by chapter, all the silly things the words mean, all the false promises, all the secondhand notions and time-worn philosophies. There sat Beatty, perspiring gently. the floor littered with swarms of black moths that had died in a single storm. Continued personification of the books. Mildred stopped screaming as quickly as she started. Montag was not listening. There's only one thing to do, he said. Sometime before tonight, I will give the book to Beatty. I've got to have a duplicate made. So he wants to make a copy. You'll be here for the White Clown tonight, and the lady's coming over, cried Mildred. Montag stopped at the door with his back turned. Milly? A silence. What? Milly? Does the White Clown love you? No answer. Milly, he licked his lips. Does your family love you very much, love you with all their heart and soul, Milly? He felt her blinking slowly at the back of his neck. Why'd you ask a silly question like that? He felt he wanted to cry, but nothing would happen to his eyes or his mouth. If you see that dog outside, said Mildred, give him a kick for me. He hesitated, listening at the door. He opened it and stepped out. The rain had stopped and the sun was setting in the clear sky. The street and the lawn and the porch were empty. He let his breath go in a great sigh. He slammed the door. He was on the subway. Ooh, time jump. I'm numb, he thought. When did the numbness really begin? In my face? In my body? The night I kicked the pill bottle in the dark like kicking a buried mine. The numbness will go away, he thought. It'll take time, but I'll do it. Or Faber will do it for me. Someone somewhere will give me back the old face and the old hands the way they were. Even the smile, he thought, the old burnt-in smile, that's gone. I'm lost without it. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Let's talk about this. So he's aware that there's this emptiness in his relationship with his wife. And when he points it out to her, she doesn't even know how to respond to it. And he can't even muster up a feeling about it. He knows he should be sad. He cannot manage to cry. And when he talks about his numbness, he wants to be able to just go through the motions again and not think. He wants his old burnt-in smile, the smile that was just there without thinking. The subway fled past him. Cream tile, jet black, cream tile, jet black, numerals and darkness, more darkness, and the total adding itself. Now he's thinking back to something from his childhood. This is important. Once as a child, he had sat upon a yellow dune by the sea in the middle of the blue and hot summer day, trying to fill a sieve with sand. So a sieve, like a thing, a colander. You put the sand in it, there's little holes in it, it drains out of the holes. It's a pan with a bunch of holes in it. So he was trying to fill this sieve with sand because some cruel cousin had said, fill this sieve and you'll get a dime. He can't. It's impossible. But he wanted the dime. And the faster he poured, the faster it sifted through with a hot whispering. So they like, can you hear it? The whispering of the sand just steadily pouring through the sieve as he's trying to hurriedly fill it up. And the weight of it is making it go out faster, the faster he tries to it's just a very frustrating experience. His hands were tired. The sand was boiling. The sieve was empty. Seated there in the midst of July, without a sound, he felt the tears move down his cheeks. Now, as the vacuum underground rushed him through the dead cellars of town, jolting him. He remembered the terrible logic of that sieve, and he looked down and he saw that he was carrying the Bible open in public. There were people in the suction train, but he held that book in his hand, and this silly thought came to him: if you read fast and read it all, maybe some of the sand will stay in the sieve. And he read, and the world fell through, and he thought, in a few hours there will be Beatty, and here will be me handing this over, so no phrase must escape me. Each line must be memorized. I will myself to do it. He clenched the book in his fists. Trumpets blared. So the trumpets are biblical. It's a biblical reference to the angels. Denham's Dentrifice. So there's a jingle on the train. So his thoughts, trying to read the Bible, the jingle on the train, back and forth. Okay. Shut up, thought Montag. Consider the lilies of the field. Denham's Dentrifice. They toil not. Denham's. Consider the lilies of the field. Shut up, Dentrifice. He tore the book open and flicked the pages and felt of them as if he were blind. He picked at the shape of the individual letters, not blinking. Denham, spelled D-E-N. They toil not, neither do they. A fierce whisper of hot sand through empty sieve. Denham's does it. Consider the lilies, the lilies, the lilies. Denham's dental detergent. Shut up, shut up, shut up. It was a plea, a cry so terrible that Montag found himself on his feet, the shocked inhabitants of the loud car staring. Moving back from this man with the insane, gorged face, the gibbering, dry mouth, the flapping book in his fist. The people who had been sitting a moment before, tapping their feet to the rhythm of Denham's Dentrifice, Denham's Dandy, Dental Detergent, Denham's Dentrifice, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. The people whose mouths had been faintly twitching the words, Dentrifice, Dentrifice, Dentrifice. The train radio vomited upon Montag in retaliation a great ton-load of music made of tin, copper, silver, chromium, and brass. The people were pounded into submission. They did not run. There was no place to run. The great air train fell down its shaft in the earth. Lilies of the field. Denham's! Lilies! I said. The people stared. Call the guard! This man's off Knoll View. The train hissed to its stop. Knoll View! A cry. Denham's. A whisper. Montag's mouth barely moved. Lilies. The train door whistled open. Montag stood. The door gasped. Started shut. Only then did he leap past the other passengers, screaming in his mind, plunged through the slicing door. Only in time. He ran on the white tiles up through the tunnels, ignoring the escalators because he wanted to feel his feet move, arms swing, lungs clench, unclench, feel his throat go raw with air. A voice drifted after him. Denham's, Denham's, Denham's. The train hissed like a snake. The train vanished in its hole. So there's a battle here, right? For, I don't know, for attention. I don't know. I don't know what's the best way to describe this. But clear Denham's Dentrifice won. The jingles won. The mindless noise won. there's no reflection. There's no room for reflection. Every meaningful thought is blasted out of existence.